Linus, thank you very much. You are the head of the Red Band Maxi Taxi Association. Let us say welcome to you. Morning.
Morning to Rennie and morning to Trinidad and Tobago.
It is good to have you. You are here with the president of the Association of Maxi Taxis of Trinidad and Tobago. He is the head, Ian Hewitt. Ian, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
There you go.
And to the listening public, we want to say thanks for having us.
I've had the pleasure of speaking to both of you all on Brunch on different occasions. It's good to have you here with me again. All right, let's get straight to the meat of the matter. We're starting with the removal of the band's maxi taxis. Why are we starting there? Because prices is something we can discuss after, but this can change the entire structure of maxi taxis. It can change the entire structure of public transportation. Some say that it will provide employment for those who decide they want to go into remote places. Some say it will put too much of a burden on people in the city. You being your organization, Linus and Eon, you greeted the announcement as madness. Tell me why.
Well, there's a court order, CV 2011-01631. I'm going to say it again for the public. CV 2011-01631. And if that was adhered to, we wouldn't have this havoc.
Now, this is something that was brought on before, and I believe it was not. It was not even in the last administration. It was before that. Am I correct?
It was the last administration. 2011.
Okay, and what brought this legislation? And explain briefly what it means.
It just simply means what the Minister of Finance said is a no-no in the eyes of the court. Full stop.
What the minister said is that we are going to remove the ban. You're saying that the court has ruled on this already. Okay. I need to ask this question. Was there any consultation with the Association of Maxi Taxi before the...
No, and this is the reason why we carried Mr. Warner to court, because there is something called the administering authority.
Mr. Warner is Jack Warner, who was in charge of transport at the time. Yes,
Minister of Works and Transport.
Yes, okay.
There is something in the act called the administering authority. That is the person that controls the maxi taxis. That person is the transport commissioner. They took it away from the politician. That is the transport commissioner.
Why did the court think that this was a no-no? Why was it thrown out as a no-no on this judgment that you just called?
Well, we have the act itself, and when you follow the act puts together something called the advisory committee that will carry that advice to the minister. Okay, so you have the advisory committee, which is made up of the transport commissioner, people from the police, the Ministry of Works, other associations, and we would get together along with the maxi taxi men, and we would get together and sit down. And there was supposed to be something called data that is sadly lacking in the Ministry of Works and Transport. Data. All the Ministry of Works and Transport can tell you is how much vehicles there is in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, in all fairness, there's been a lacking of data generally with the absence of enough emphasis being put on the CSO.
Thank you.
So, I mean, it's not just the ministry there, it's all across the board.
So then we don't know, at least the ministry don't know how much maxis there are. We are sure about that. We can put our head on that. They could carry us to court for that too. But we don't care because we know they don't know, right? They don't know how much maxis there are. If you don't know how much maxi there are, how would you know how much maxi you want? Can the ministry tell us, by extension, how much buses we need in Trinidad, how much maxis, how much taxis? No.
We don't have the information to support that.
We don't have the information.
All right. I want to move quickly to Linus. Linus, these remote areas folks are talking about, a lot of people saying that there is an issue of servicing remote areas. And that is one of the reasons they believe that what the minister proposed has some meat in it, some justification. How do you respond to that?
I wouldn't deny that. When Mr. Warner tried to open up the route, it's the same argument he had. And we gave proposals for that since in 2011. Right? We think that if you want to put transportation in the remote area, you can't go about dealing with your transportation in an ad hoc way. Open up the routes, put in more maxis out there, and hope they go in the remote areas. That is a big hope, right? What we think was supposed to happen, it was supposed to be expanded in the same vein that it is now. Maxi taxi were color-coded to spread over Trinidad and Tobago, and it worked for 37 years. right? No one set of people flock to work in one area. And what you are doing, if you decide to expand it, you're supposed to expand it in the same vein, right? You expand on what you have. You don't disrupt what you have and hope that things will work out a certain way, right? So we give the ministry a proposal for expanding Maxi taxis into the areas that is not serviced presently with Maxi since in 2011.
You're talking about getting more Maxis on the road, is what you're saying.
But when you put it out there, you're sure if you put Maxis to work in Lopino, Komoto, North Manzalena, that they are going to stay there. Because you are going to ban them as such that they will stay in that area. They wouldn't be able to leave there and come out and work in an
Which is the banding system that obtains right now. Ian Hewitt, I want to come back and continue on that. What then, in your mind, your association's mind, is the justification behind the minister proposing to deban the Maxi taxis? Because on the basis of what you're saying, you're not ignorant to the fact that we need more service for these remote areas. You have, as you said, supplied a potential solution as far back, a couple of years ago. So what do you think is the motivation behind the minister's proposal to remove the banding of Maxi taxis? His argument, by the way, let me just throw it inside of there, is that folks are selling the bands for up to $120,000. That's one of the justifications made.
Okay. You cannot sell a band now. This association has put a stop to that. That was something used to be transferred on paper. Okay? You could have sold your Maxi and you have the rights in your hand, which we call the band, and you could have transferred that to somebody. This association has worked very hard and has gotten that changed.
How have you done that?
You have to sell a Maxi.
Oh, you must sell the Maxi
sell the
itself.
Whole thing. You must sell a Maxi.
And before, what obtained is that folks would sell
paper.
They took the rights of the vehicle.
They took the rights of the vehicle, and they have the paper saying that they are the owner of the rights, and they could have transferred that to you, as the case might have been. But you cannot do now. You must go licensing office with a Maxi.
All right, so that is the case. Tell me what you think is the justification behind what the minister proposed.
I would love to meet the minister to find out that.
Well, you had a meeting with the advisory committee on this from the advisory committee.
The minister don't sit with the advisory committee.
We met with the Minister of Works, not with the
finance minister. But the Minister of Works would come in. Well, on that particular, that was the first time that the committee has met, right? And that was last week, Thursday, right? So he would have come in, he would have made an opening remark, 2 minutes, and he would have left.
You would think, just that you understand, I am in some kind of utopia, maybe in some parallel universe, because I would think that there's a line minister. There was conversation between the line minister and the minister of finance. So when I asked if there was anything coming from your line minister, that's what I meant by extension. You have no justification, no explanation as to what this is. All right. The advisory committee meeting you had, was it on Thursday?
Yes, it was.
It was on Thursday. All right. And what you heard there, that was encouraging or discouraging? Linus, you're twisting your face. Go ahead.
Well,
Linus, by the way, just that I reintroduce, I guess so you understand the voices. Linus is the president of the Red Band Maxi Taxi Association, also vice president of the Maxi Taxi Association of Trinidad and Tobago. The other voice you will hear is that of Ian Hewitt, who is the president. Go ahead, Linus.
What came out of what we see coming out of that meeting is that the whole thing apparently started to take a different tone and a different shape. In the sense that what we were saying all the time is where we're looking to head, right? If you want more transportation, you have to do it in a responsible manner. Now, people have to understand in Trinidad and Tobago, Maxi taxi transport 80% of the traveling public. And that is not our survey. That was a survey done by APET.
Who's this?
APET.
The Professional Engineers of Trinidad and Tobago.
Right?
Okay.
That's the latest survey. So I think we are by 5% from 75%. So in 1979, if we start at 0%, and today we are at 80%, we have to be doing something right.
Or the PTSC is doing something very wrong.
We will come to that.
Or the government doing something wrong.
We'll come to
Right?
that.
So you have a body that transports 80% of your traveling public, and you want to turn it upside down. That have to be madness. Because on one hand, you're talking about productivity, and you want to turn your transport system that transport the majority of people, you want to put it in a whole disarray. Now, transportation is what drives productivity on one hand. You don't have a proper transportation system, your productivity level could be low. Right?
Would be.
Obviously. People come to work late, by half day they're looking to go home. Look what's going on now with the rain or falling. As soon as place started flood, everybody looking to go to go home. So we are saying that the transportation system in Trinidad and Tobago have to be organized, and it have to be organized properly. Transportation system in the city is not even organized properly. We have proposal that we put for the government for inner city transportation system since under the last government too. Right? And these proposal that we put out there, we had a conversation with the IADB, and when we put these proposal to them, they asked us, so why your government not doing this? And our answer was, they hire you, you ask them.
The IADB, Inter-America Development Bank,
right.
and they were hired. They were hired by the government, and they had a conversation with you.
Right.
Interesting.
They speak with all the stakeholders.
Then
this whole rapid rail.
Your response was a good one. Why don't you all tell them? Bob, Ian Hewitt, I want to come to you now because very soon I'm going to be joined by Errol Pilgrim, who's dealing with the area of pricing, which we're going to. But you wanted to make a point about the Public Transport Service Corporation. I said that clearly from the information that Linus just said, there is a great feeling on their side, and you concur. Tell me.
Okay, what we are saying is the government looking to bring out more Maxis. That is what we gather from the minister's speech. You cannot be telling people to go and buy more Maxis. And in your budget speech, we were told on Thursday we're looking at 100 new buses between now and next year. So this is why I'm asking, how much is enough Maxis? How much is enough buses? You're encouraging my man to go out and spend $620,000 to buy a Maxi, right? To pay $15,000 to $18,000 a month, and you bringing in it was told to us clearly by the minister, by our line minister, that they intend to make PTSC viable. So if you are bringing in the buses, why encourage people to do that? Why encourage people to go out and put that money, and you intend to bring in buses? This is not right, This is not right.
I hear you. We put it out there so folks can have it. And I want to go into the other area now. We've dealt with the area of servicing of remote areas. We talked about the question of the banding or debanding. I'm encouraged to hear Linus say from the conversation you had with the advisory committee, hey, surprise, surprise, they're coming along to what we said. Okay, well, if you got that impression, I'm happy to hear that, because the question is not about who is right or who is wrong. It's just about trying to make this thing work.
Simple.
Getting it right. Money, which is always the issue. Talk about the possibility of an increase in prices. And I believe it led to something that I like. It was a slogan that came with your advisory. What was that? And I'm looking for it because I had it here and I had it highlighted. I think it was most apt. Okay, when I find it, I'll deal with it. But for right now, we want to talk about prices. Folks are saying there was an increase before. You heard that the subsidies on fuel, you heard that there would be a removal of fuel subsidy. You knew from early that last year, this year, and quite potentially next year, we're going to have this situation happening. There was an increase taken by certain people, in certain areas, and folks are saying, why do you want this increase now? One, and two, by what percentage is this increase going to be? Because they're saying if you look at the increase as a result of the further removal of subsidies, and you divide that by the number of passengers each Maxi is carrying, you should be talking cents in increase and not dollars.
In our release to the media, we never said diesel. There is something called operational cost. And even in the articles you are seeing, everybody is saying diesel. And Maxi don't run on diesel alone. There are other things, operational costs.
So let me see if I get you right. You're not talking about just the fuel subsidies causing this increase. So it just happens to all fall at the same time. But you're not talking about increase in fuel and or diesel. You were saying other operational costs is why there's a contemplation of an increase right now.
And we can up our prices, and we can prove it based on operational cost alone. Not even the diesel, operational cost alone. Let me give you something. You see, like today, my colleague here would have brought across a soup for me.
He didn't bring any for me, but go ahead.
Because it was $30. It is now $38 since the budget. These people running on diesel? Operational cost. Come now, man. It costing the man more all around.
So just to be very, very clear, as the head and the president and vice president of the Maxi Taxis Association, we are saying categorically we are not speaking in terms of an increase because of the removal of fuel subsidies. You're saying not because of the removal of fuel subsidies specifically?
Yes.
But because of the
Operational
operational costs. Yes, Linus, I'm sorry.
Now, if you listen to some people and they're talking about the diesel going up by how much and how much they're talking about cents the fare is supposed to go by. If we were treating with this on the basis of diesel, then we should have an increase when Mr. Imbud made the first 15%. Then he made the second 15%. We should have an increase then. And then the third 15%, we should have had an increase then. We didn't.
You see, you guys just made this very, very clear in an entirely different area.
Yeah.
Because hitherto, all the conversation has been, as a result of the removal of subsidies, you guys are increasing your costs. And you're telling me this morning, it has nothing, it is not specifically because of that.
Yes.
Now, Rennie, what we call diesel, fuel is a reoccurring daily expenditure. It's very important because it's reoccur every day. You have tires. My bus carries 6 tires. The minister put a $20 on every tire. Plus, he put a tax on the tires. That is going to trickle down to me also. Right? The parts man, who I buy parts from, he's telling you, hello, my transportation costs going up because of the man who bringing the parts, he have expense too. His cost going up, so his transportation going up. So that is passed down to me, right? So things are being passed down, but somehow you find when it reach the maximum, it mustn't go away. The government the subsidy on fuel was a benefit for the public of Trinidad and Tobago. The man who drives his car, the government used to give, that he used to benefit from that subsidy for fuel. The person who travel with me benefit from that subsidy because they get a lower transportation cost. The government take back their subsidy. People are asking me that I supposed to take on the role of the government and absorb that subsidy now. That is unfair to me.
A lot of people are saying that these are tough times and everybody's got to share in it.
We were quite willing to share when the government started taking out the subsidy.
There are those who argue that you had a dollar increase a few years ago on Red Band, and why? Did that not include already operation cost?
Yes.
Increased operation cost.
Yes.
Up to then.
Up
But
to
the
then.
operational cost has gone on and it don't stop, you know. It don't stop, you know.
It keep going up. Now, you can't raise fare every Monday morning. Right? You raise your fare. When you raise your fare, you absorb a certain amount of cost. But there is a point, there is a breaking point. There is a point that you wouldn't be able to absorb anymore. And you have no other choice. Now, it's two things could happen. I could carry you. We don't operate like PTSC now. From Sandy Grande to Port of Spain on a PTSC bus. You have an ECS bus, which is a government subsidized bus. You know what is the fare? $10. I run for $11. My bus is not subsidized. So if a government running a service and they are charging $10 and that service are being subsidized at $10 and I am running for $1 more. $1
Unsubsidized.
more. Unsubsidized. Tell me what's going on.
Good point you're making there.
The subsidy, our vehicle is not people have to understand our vehicle is not a PTSC bus. PTSC are being subsidized $395 million a year. Right? And the service they get for it is not money's worth.
There are people who say that there's some subsidy made for the purchase of Maxis and so on, but we're going to get to that in just a moment. By the way, that slogan I was looking for before that I think is genius. It says, when injustice becomes law, resistance become duty.
Duty bong, man. Duty bong.
All right. So the question of these increases now we have made very clear has nothing to do, is not specifically tied to the subsidy. It is the cost of doing business. At what point, however, folks ask, is the concern of the traveling public an issue, because we are looking at they can take but so much, and with the prices going up all the time, you're right, it is going to trickle down in every area, and of course, if you raise your costs, everybody is not living good. Talk to me about that.
We understand that, but you also have to understand, you can go online and purchase something that you will pay $100 for, and the same product in Trinidad is $200 and $250, right? We understand what it is going on, and we hope that the public understand. When again, look, Rennie, I have to come back to the diesel. We're talking about diesel here, but where in the world you can travel 16 miles for a US dollar? 16 miles for a US dollar. You see, so when you take my diesel and you equate it to the US currency, I asked that question. Where in the world can you travel for that? And I asked you the other morning, $150 37 years ago, $7 today. Where in the world can you find that happening? Let me be real. Let me be real, people. The public servants in the last 36 years has gotten 12 increase every 3 years, Rennie. If we were going up by $1 every year, we would have been $14 and $15.
That passionate voice
I
am
saying no, because the cry is that the public servants is going to feel it. So I am saying if the public servants going to feel it, we are going to go up every 3 years when you get your increase. You can't vex with me then, because you have an increase and I want $1. Do you want that, public servant?
A rhetorical question, I am sure. So, because you're saying there's a possibility of an increase every 3 years.
Well,
if you follow that model.
Yes.
But that is not what you've been having. I got you. Veteran journalist and columnist Errol Pilgrim has been for the working man for a long time. In his column today in the Mirror, his opinion piece takes issue with what he calls the unconscionable position posited by unfair Maxi taxi operators. He points to tax concessions, including vehicle purchase. I have asked Mr. Pilgrim, who is a working man's journalist, as I said before, to come and tell me where is he at odds with the position of the Maxi Taxi Association of Trinidad and Tobago. And I seem to have lost Errol, but I will have him to give us a call, and as soon as he does, we will have him join in here. You are saying, on the one hand, that because of the cost of living, because of the cost of tires and maintenance and bad roads and all these things, you have to give this increase. That's your justification.
Yes.
You've been having conversations. I know. I spoke to Linus. I spoke with you before, having conversation with some of your travelers and hearing what they had to say about it. How do they feel about this?
They understand that, Rennie. You wouldn't believe that. They understand that.
They are understanding of it.
They
okay.
are understanding. There are people like in everything else, right? But the feedback, more or less,
by and large,
yes.
Let me bring Mr. Pilgrim in. Errol Pilgrim, good morning to you, sir.
Hi, good morning, Rennie. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. My guests, Mr. Hewitt, Ian Hewitt, who is the president, and the vice president is Linus Phillips. They are both here, and I think they may have a little different look at your column than yours. So essentially, we have discussed the red band issue. We have discussed the increase. They have made it very clear the increase is not specifically tied to the removal of subsidies, but the cost of doing business, operational costs, and so on. You, in your column, name among a number of things the concessions made to them with taxes and so on. But you're here. Go ahead and represent yourself. Let me introduce both you guys. And let us have a conversation, Errol, but where you see the disconnect between the association and reality.
Yes, Rennie, I think one of the major issues I want to deal with is the question of the extent to which the Maxi taxi driver appreciates the significance of the service he provides to the country. Now, I think it was Mr. Hewitt who was saying that if at every time the public servants get an increase, they increase their fares, it will go up to a phenomenal number. But the point is that in every country that is serious, efforts are made to ensure that people get to school and get to work on time and efficiently and cheaply, because it has to do with productivity in the workplace, and it has to do with the education of the children, even those children that Mr. Hewitt may sire and Mr. Phillips. The Maxi taxi industry provides a service in the absence of the kind of efficiency that the government service does not provide. This does not mean that they must divorce themselves from the social impact that fares could do in the country. Because, I mean, if it were only if we relied solely on the government service, we would probably not have that problem, because then the outcry would be for efficiency, the outcry would be for punctuality and reliability. The Maxi taxis were not there when the train was running, because the train was efficient. It ran on time. It had to run on time because it had to do with crossways and so on. And it took people to work and to school on time and efficiently. Suddenly, the train was removed. And the Maxis, in the second instance, were put in there to take up the slack, but they never did.
All right, let me bring my guest in this morning. Let Ian Hewitt start responding.
Let me respond to this first. Mr. Pilgrim, I don't think he's sure about what he's speaking about. When he said the Maxi taxi was brought in and they didn't pick up the slack. Mr. Pilgrim didn't just hear I say we went from 0% to 80%. Apparently not. Apparently he have somewhere along the line he have his maths and his figures crossed. Because Maxi taxi in Trinidad and Tobago came in 1979. In 1980 we were running at $2.50 from Port of Spain to Arima. A Maxi taxi, a small Maxi, was $22,000. A big Maxi was $57,000. Right now we are running at $7 after 37 years. Right? We are running at $7. A big Maxi gone from $57,000 to $620,000. A small Maxi gone from $22,000, right, to $350,000. I want Mr. Pilgrim to get his figures and do his maths before he starts printing things that
diesel alone, man.
Come on,
Diesel alone,
you are speaking on things that you don't have the.
Errol, I'm
history
leaving your line open so you folks can go ahead and interact with each other.
Yes, but I do not recall my mentioning figures at all.
Well, you
I
need
am
to.
saying
You
that
quoted the diesel price.
in every serious country,
You quoted the diesel price.
I never quoted any. Wait, you mean in the article?
Of course.
In the article, sure, I quoted the diesel price, but I am saying that it is the onus of the providers of rides, of taxi services, and so on, to ensure that the fares are kept at a level where people can get to and from work. I mean,
$7 from Arima to Port of Spain is too much.
Mr. Pilgrim, we are not the
$7,
government.
sir?
You are not the government, but the government facilitates you
Yes.
by
$7, sir?
providing you with the means of getting
They don't
your
give us any
service
subsidy.
operational.
They don't give us any subsidy, Mr. Pilgrim. Mr. Pilgrim, you fail to realize that we invested our money into private-public transportation.
With a view to getting a profit.
It's an investment. I have a family to mind just like you, Mr. Pilgrim, right? And I provide a service. Now, am I to provide that service where I cannot make money to even pay for the unit I have? Then you're not making any sense.
But
In other countries, if you do research on transportation, right? We have people come in Trinidad here, and when we tell them, they say, you get any subsidy from the government other than, well, the fuel subsidy was for everybody benefit. Any additional subsidy that benefits just the Maxi taxi, and we tell them no, and we say, that is crazy. Right?
Yeah.
Now, the government, rather than put these costs on us, why did the government find a way to keep the subsidy on the public transportation vehicles so that we could keep the fare wages? Or at least keep it a little.
My beef with you, sir, is that statement when you said about the children. That hurt. I'll tell you why that hurt. Up to this term, maybe 2 weeks ago, our drivers got paid for last term. Term. And we had the minister calling them criminals more or less because he was saying that we held the children to ransom.
And
Where in the world 2 months no pay, then 2 months of August holidays no pay, and we were carrying the children, and you above all people telling us about the children.
And
Can't be that. You would not have done that as a Maxi man. I am telling you, we spent 4 months.
No,
and let me tell you something.
Mr. Pilgrim
Mr. Pilgrim, this term has started. 3 fortnights has gone, sir. And we still await salary for our drivers, and we carrying the children. Tell me, I think you deserve to give Maxi man a round of applause and the association an apology. This hurt.
Let me ask you this. Are you aware of the economic straits that this country is in?
Did the Maxi man put that there, sir? No, we didn't.
Everybody has to contribute to pulling us out of it.
We are. That is why we still carrying the nation's children.
That is why you're going to increase the fares?
No, man. Look, you could come now, man. Let me talk big people talking now, man. That's childish argument again, man. That is childish. My reasons I outlined this morning. Is it not good enough for you?
Well, the thing is that there are pros and cons for everything.
Pros and cons.
But what I'm saying is, to what extent have you examined whether the fares you are contemplating are going to be able to be met by the average traveler?
Well, we talked
by the school child and by the adult.
Or let us drive all your car and want to make maximum decision. You know, we have our clientele. And we told our drivers, when you are driving, engage the passengers with this conversation. You understand? We are not afraid, you know. We are not afraid. We are the eyes and ears of the public. And I am telling you, you're telling me about Maxi man, but if this government had listened to us, that $500 million that Minister Imbo trying to raise now is the same $500 million that they spend on a feasibility study to bring the rapid rail, which we told them was a failure.
Let me just make something clear for our listeners here. The voice you're hearing is that of Hewitt, who is the president of the Maxi Taxi Association. The other voice is that of Linus, Phillips, vice president, and the head of the Red Band Maxi Taxis on the telephone is veteran journalist Errol Pilgrim. Errol raised some questions about the thinking of the association in going after these increases. That is the conversation that you're sharing. Go ahead, Errol.
Well,
I want to ask both gentlemen a question. What would be your position should the government take a decision to establish a taxi services commission, as that which exists in places like Melbourne, in Australia? You see, in a lot of these countries, the government almost always set the fares for taxi rides. The prices for taxi rides are the same in what they call safe neighborhoods as in dangerous neighborhoods. And because of this, it is generally easier to find a taxi in both sets of neighborhoods. You know, and there are questions that are asked in support of such a commission, that in its absence, the price and quantity of travel would fall. The price would fall and the quantity would rise. The price and quantity would both rise, and that sort of thing. But on such a commission,
when fuel raise, what happens?
The taxi driver will have membership, will be able to interact with other stakeholders when the question of what you call the operational costs of your vehicle, of running your vehicle, would come up and so on, so that the commission could sit down and discuss that kind of thing without each maxi taxi having to unilaterally deal with the situation.
Mr. Pilgrim,
yes.
Outside of that, I gave you some numbers just now. Apparently, you didn't listen to them, so let me tell you again. Based on those numbers I call in fares, I don't think anybody in Trinidad and Tobago could say that the Maxi Taxi Association was reckless and was unjust in the increase in fares since its introduction in 1979. Based on the cost of units, based on the cost of living, and the fare structure from then to now. I remember in 1980, We run for $3 from 1980 to 1996. That is 16 years.
Yellow
We run at $3.
Yellow Band run for 8 years and only went up $1 last year. 8 years at the same fare. 8 years at the same fare, Mr. Pilgrim. Mr. Pilgrim, how could you write something like this and there is no data at all? You never produce data. Once you're dealing with transportation in any country and you're telling me about Australia, these people have data. How could you write something without data, sir?
No
But let me
information.
mention
Answer my
some
question,
data to you.
man. Talk to me.
Are there maxi taxi
That's a
owners?
question.
Are there maxi taxi owners with fleets of maxi taxis?
That is not data we're talking about.
No, I'm asking you a
data.
question.
I want to answer
I am
you.
asking you a question.
I will answer you.
Yeah.
When you say if they are maxi taxi owners with fleets of maxis,
Yes.
you know what is the registration process for a maxi taxi?
Well, you tell me.
Oh, you see? Yeah.
No, I am asking you a question, and you are asking me.
All right. Well, I'm
answering
telling you.
with another
I am
question.
telling you no, and I'm going to
So you're
explain.
saying that
And
no
I'm
maxi
and I'm going to
taxi
explain.
owner-
Let me explain to you. One maxi is registered to one owner.
And you're saying that is fulfilled
Right.
to the letter.
Now, let me tell you something that people don't understand in Trinidad and Tobago. Right? Under the Constitution and the law, if Mr. Rennie Bishop decide to come to anybody who have money and say, look, I need a job, could you finance me a maxi taxi? And they make all the arrangement, right? He say, okay, I'm going to finance you the maxi. Now, the person have the ability to drive. They have all the permits, but they don't have the money to purchase one. But here is somebody who have the money to purchase one, but they're not interested in driving one, right? So that person purchase a maxi for Mr. X to work. And if Mr. X go out and tell Mr. Y, and Mr. Y go to the person and they want to buy one for them, what wrong with that? Right now, 3/4 of the maxis on the road, the bank own it. So right now, the bank own all the maxis. So
But
what you telling me?
So in answer to the question, however, they are fleets is what you're saying,
Yeah.
but
It have
there are
people
reasons why
finance-
they
They
are
have,
there. Yes,
they
fine.
have,
Maxi
it have people
would
who
not
have
be on their
financial
name.
interest in a lot of vehicles.
Gentlemen, I got 2 minutes here,
Right?
so I'm gonna.
So
I'm gonna
there is
just-
there is nothing wrong with that. What is wrong with that?
Well, what I'm getting at is that these people saw maxis as a very good investment.
What is wrong with that?
Even with the high operational costs that you talk about, even with the cost of diesel and so on, the maxis are still a very good investment.
Because of the amount of hours you have to put in. When the public servant, when we come out, Linus comes out at 3:30 in the morning to carry people for 8 o'clock, from Sandy Grande. So we have to, listen to me, we have to pull that slack, I'm going to say something at the Transport
Because
Commission.
you
Hold
realize
on.
the value of productivity.
Not the value of productivity is going the extra mile to make a living. That's why, listen to my statement. I'm going to say something here now that the Transport Commissioner wouldn't like. The amount of hours that a maxi man supposed to work, he's working outside of that hours, and that is wrong. That is wrong. Because he have to make ends meet. You traveling your picker, brother, and you trying to dictate our clientele needs, wants without data. I am telling you, the next article you write, you bring your data, and we will sit down and listen to you. If you watch this week, you would see a high turnout in the Mirror because Maxi men bought it to read it. So you will see a high turnout this week, but then you wouldn't see no more. Because I think what you have written is enough to turn them off.
Okay,
No
that is
data.
your threat?
I'm telling you, transportation, sir, runs on data, not
Yes,
old
and
talk.
I am
old talk. And what you
looking
put there
on behalf
was
of the
old
people,
talk. And what
the
people are you
ordinary
talking
people
about?
who depend on your services.
Write that column to the government.
All right. Well, I did not expect us to sing Kumbaya, so I thought we would have opposing views, and that we have, and both sides got to advance their point. Errol Pilgrim, as always, my brother, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning.
You're very welcome, Rennie.
All right. And you have yourself a very wonderful day and a wonderful week. Gentlemen, I am with you here, and I am going to hit the last question because we have allowed you to just deal with the article that's out there. My question is, and I tried to extract that from Eon a moment ago, and he did me the two-step dance. Not deliberately, but he danced me. Let me ask you specifically, what kind of increase are folks talking about? We understand it not to do with fuel, it has to do with operation cost. Now, and before you answer that, there was one part of your release that I wanted to get clear. And tell me if I am correct in my reading of it. It said that each band area will make their decisions as to what kind of increase we are talking about. Is that correct?
Yes.
So there is no one increase coming from the association, but each
Yes.
route would have.
Like the yellow band. After 8 years, we went up last year at $1. We haven't. My drivers, owner operators, hasn't come to me and asked for an increase.
Okay.
Right, because we went up last year. You understand? So my own is going to be different to Linus' own. Linus' own hasn't gone up a little while. Brown band, green band. Everybody, the brown band went up. Right? And I must apologize, they went up and they didn't let the association know. They gave us a slight information, and I am apologizing to the public. They went on their own, right? Which they are allowed
The brown
to.
band are the folks who do the penal,
Yes,
sample, and the route,
which
right?
they are allowed to. But we told the nation that it would come from the association of Maxi Taxi. But in their haste, they went that way. We apologize for that.
Okay.
But the rest would not follow. I cannot speak on behalf of Linus and the rest.
Well, he's here.
We are having a
Linus,
meeting Tuesday.
what kind of increase are we looking at?
That you have to wait and see.
I keep trying to extract that from you, and you keep dancing.
No, I'm not dancing here, but you see, we don't want to put anything outside there and have people up and down the place.
But you said there will be an
There-
increase.
yeah, definitely there will be an increase.
How soon can the public?
We are working on it.
How
We're
soon
trying-
can the public
we're trying to
expect
get-
that?
We are, for our driver's sake, we're trying to get it out there as soon as possible. We have 5 different areas to adjust. We have La Hoqueta, Maloney, Main Road, Bus Route, Sandy Grande, right? So we're not just going to jump outside there and say, hey, this amount more, $4, $2, $3, whatever. We're not going to do that. We look at every area. We speak to the drivers. We have to talk to all these drivers in these different areas.
Good.
right?
Take your time. We're not
Right.
anxious to do
No.
the increase.
We
And
know
next
that.
thing,
We know
and
that.
next thing people don't understand. We are taking our time to do this, right? Meanwhile, our drivers are complaining they are suffering because the increase was immediate. We are the only set of people. I hear all the other businessmen get increase and it coming.
Careful now, because because the subsidies got nothing to do with the increase.
No. I'm talking about increase in taxes.
Okay.
They get the increase and they have time to adjust. Who won't come in October? Who won't come in December? Who won't come in January? Ours is with immediate effect.
Well, there is one consolation here, guys, in thanking you both for being here. There's a consolation. There's a possibility that somebody from the Maxi Taxi Association of Trinidad and Tobago will be appointed as senator, because the general view of the opposition leader was that for the gaming industry, I'll get a senator to represent their view.
Our view, our constitution tells us non-political, non-religious.
And we are keeping it that way.
I'm trying to pull you in my bacchanal. All right. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in this morning. Ian Hewitt, who is the president of the Yellow Band, chairman of the Yellow Band and president of the Maxi Taxi Association in Trinidad and Tobago. Okay. Thank you so very much. Linus, Red Band. You're chairman of the Red Band? President. Oh, Lord, I got to keep these titles
I am
right.
the only chairman, sir.
You're the only chairman.
I'm the only chairman.
And Linus from the Red Band.
Based on the
Gentlemen,
Constitution.
When injustice becomes law,
I like it.
resistance becomes duty. Push back, Maxi, man. Push back.
I'm not going to plagiarize that, but I will be repeating it.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much. You have yourself a wonderful day, and thank you so much, Linus and Ian, for coming in this morning.